Do you want to know what makes you very happy? When you get to have a business and you have a growing family. You get to grow all things in your life. The difference here isn't just small, guys. I'm talking about it being the difference between you having an extraordinary fulfilled life or having an absolute shit life to where you still spend your life running. Although you have your Rolex, you're still shaking your leg under the table because you're afraid of this deal not going through, because the life that you've made is too damn difficult to sustain because you never wanted it. You wanted to run. You're still looking for a way to sell your business and sell everything that you have so that you can run away from all of those emotions and feelings. And guess what? You can't run because it'll show up in your kids. And you'll look at your wife and she'll remind you of the fact that you can't run. And everything around you will show you that too, no matter how much of the system you try to cheat. That's not the point. And I realized that all of these things came down to one thing in my life. The reason why I was so miserable. My rejection of responsibility. So I was 21 and turning 22, which is the scariest thing ever, right? Because if I felt like the oldest 21-year-old of all time. The oldest I ever felt was 21. I don't think about my age anymore. Because I just think about what I can give to the world with the life that I have. I understand that the way that I present things will change based off of my youth and maturity, but I'll also tell you something else. I will only get better at what I do because I understand that my life is about welcoming more of it, not pushing it away. Have you guys ever realized that? You pushed away beautiful women because of the responsibility that it takes to have them. You pushed away extraordinary wealth because of the responsibility it takes to have it. You've pushed away excellent friends because of the responsibility it takes to sustain it. You've pushed away a beautiful body because of how much responsibility it takes to maintain it. What's up, Ed?
You had mentioned before, like the responsibility of dating, responsibility of etc. And I mean, in your experience, in your own words, what kind of responsibility does it take to have a beautiful woman?
A beautiful woman?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to love this. We're going to get into all of it.
Great.
Here's the thing that's very interesting is that most people see beautiful women in a nutshell, right? They don't see them as a long-term solution for themselves. Because there's far more responsibility in having a beautiful woman over a long period of time, right? Because perhaps maybe you're going to feel times in your life where you start to feel insecure and you don't feel powerful enough for one, let's just say, because you have an underlying insecurity. You're telling me that that's not going to take a lot of responsibility over yourself about how you're able to maintain your conduct and stay on top of your game? I'm sure guys know this, right? A girl comes up to you and she goes, when I'm with you, I just want to let myself go. Is that a hot thing to hear? No, you want to hear, when I'm with you, I want to keep hitting the gym, I want to keep doing yoga, I want to become better at cooking, I want to be doing all of the things that I love to do for you. And this time, all of the things that I love to do for myself prior. A lot of men feel more secure about the woman saying, I want to let myself go around you, than the woman that says, I want to keep building up around you. Do you understand that? Do you want to know something interesting about a lot of men? They push away honest women. Honest women scare the fuck out of men. Do you know why? Because maybe they'll trigger the fuck out of your insecurities that you never confronted, and you always told yourself your whole life, well, I can't confront these insecurities in front of her because she can never see me. So what you really created is a relationship to where you hide from her, and she spends her whole life trying to pick out the parts of you that you hide. You don't think that there's a lot of responsibility in being with a woman that is a very high caliber, intelligent one? There's plenty of responsibility behind it because it's implying that you need to be integrating your shit all the time for yourself so that she doesn't have to call you out. And you're telling me that this is survival? This is absolutely not survival. This is how you find your potential. This is how you see what you're made of. And it's all one thing, responsibility. What you're willing to do for yourself regardless. And I can tell you something. So I was like, oh, fuck, this is crazy. Okay, well, let's start off with the first thing you need to take responsibility for. All of your desires, all of the things that are true about you that you don't meet all the time. Number one, yourself. Responsibility of you. And that conversation with my friend kind of spun me out until I had my birthday. And I remember my birthday, I was really depressed. I went to Yosemite. And I could show you photos of what my eyes looked like. You guys will be really blown away. I'm not the same guy. But to let you know, shortly after, I started accepting the responsibility of what it takes to live my life. I want you guys to remember that if you lived your life unconditionally and if you lived it authentically, it would scare the fuck out of you. And there's a lot of responsibility in becoming that man There's a lot of burden that you're going to have to bear in order to be yourself. And I think a lot of men externalize this burden with tasks. We're not talking about tasks here. We're talking about the scariest thing ever. If you're the kind of person that wants to interact with the world unconditionally, then you're going to have to be that kind of guy everywhere you go, even in front of your family. And most people hide from their family. Most people hide from the people closest to them. Most people hide from their friends. You want to know something scary? Perhaps your friends are going to be the friends that you die with. Are you happy about those kinds of people that you surround yourself with? Or you want more? Perhaps the woman you're with is going to be the woman that you die with. Is that what you want, or do you want more? And now I want you guys to understand that this desire for more is technically centric. It is selfish. But it's also the thing that allows you to be a good man. If you can't ask more from life and ask more from yourself, then how will you be more? It's a ridiculous idea. So there was this one point where I remember I was actually in the gym and I started looking at things like, my whole life I studied psychology. I only hung out with therapists, hypnotherapists, NLP coaches, all the greatest in the world. And those are the people that I'd spend time with and have conversations with. I loved philosophy, I loved religion. And oh my God, I loved people. And I asked myself a question. I remember I was like, dude, even going back here really makes me sad. I'm really sorry to say this. I'm not trying to be a fucking pity party thing. I try to put myself in the emotions that I experienced all the time. And I kind of want to describe it to you because maybe you guys have felt it prior to coming to this, because maybe that's what makes me so relatable, is that I'm not a demigod who figured it out for a long time. I'm here by the grace of fucking God. And I don't want you guys to experience what I had to experience. But I can tell you that looking in the mirror was a painful act for me to do, because all I could feel like, what a fucking waste. That's all I could hear and that's all I could see. But I remember that things would start to get better. The more I said, you know what? I want more of this. I want more of the antagonizing shake. I want more responsibility. And I asked myself the things that I'm the most resistant to. And the things that you're often the most resistant to are the things that you have not taken the mantle of responsibility internally for. And I can kind of go through a list of things. I remember I was training people at the time. I'd bang out audiobooks like a beast because I thought you needed to read books to be credible. I don't know who told you that. What you need to do is take action to be credible, because experience is what's going to make you absolutely invaluable as an irreplaceable experience, not books. If you guys have read like 6 books in a row and you still find yourself with the same question, should I take action? Stop reading books, start taking action. And start feeling the dread of you not taking those decisions. And you guys want to know something interesting? You want to start changing your life? Allow yourself to start feeling and experiencing pain. Pain. You know what I told myself? I will not drink, I will not smoke, I'm not going to jerk off to porn, and I'm not going to go hook up with chicks to avoid this kind of pain. I'm going to experience it. I had a hard time sleeping. But I'll tell you one thing. I started becoming really, really aware of where I was supposed to go, because there's 2 things in life that drive you. There's a tiger chasing you and a dream you're running to. The older you become and the more responsibility you take, you spend your life not running, but pursuing your dreams, your desires. Fuck, man, I really dislike responsibility sometimes. But it's like one of those things where if you connect to it, it's what frees you. And I want you to remember this. Responsibility frees you. It frees you. And it's paradoxical, isn't it? You're like, well, if I take more responsibility, then I would have less time to do the things that I do. Now, I want you guys to know this. With all the lack of responsibility you have now, are you living the life that you want to live? Probably not. And that's what I had to realize. So I was in the gym. I would take these walks in the parking lot. I went from making 15 grand a month to 2 grand a month. This was a few months. It was actually 1 month before my brother got married in February. In October, I started saying, hey, I'm going to start going out more. I'm going to start experiencing life more. And I watched a film. And I want you guys to understand that everything starts with you, yourself. And unleashing this dark nature into reality is exactly where you want to start. It starts with your dark nature. Why? Because that's the parts of you that's repressed. You're telling me the thing that doesn't move you is the chaos inside of you? You guys ever ask yourself that question, how do I become more motivated? Realize how many desires you repressed into your shadow. Activate your shadow and all of your desires will arise. And then you will be left with your insecurities and fear. And that's a much better place to be. Okay? Insecurities and fear can be confronted. Your dark nature, if repressed, cannot. And so I watched this movie, and it was called Fright Night, and it was about a vampire next door. And I want you guys to watch more movies. Now, I give you guys a list of selections to start activating these things. I really like the drill that you did, Matthew. I wanted to reward you for the characters that you wanted to model, but you haven't made your check-in call this week. I wanted to speak to you about those characters. Don't miss out on that opportunity, okay? I'll give you another time this week so that you can make that. So I watched this movie, and what is it about? It's about a boy trying to make a move on this girl. And she's always telling him she's not in the mood, not yet. And he finally fucking goes, fuck. Puts his arms on the windowsill and he looks out, suburban, Midwestern little town, and he sees a coffin being dragged into the next door house. And he's already like, what the heck, a coffin in the next door house? And they open the coffin and they see there's a person lying down in the coffin. The next day, he sees that exact neighbor not in the coffin anymore. So he's thinking maybe this is some sort of Halloween prank. And of course, his assumption is the next door neighbor is a vampire, so he begins to investigate it. But the vampire finds out that he knows he's a vampire. So he knocks on the door, and let me tell you something about the actor that plays the vampire. He's seductive, he's charming, he's charismatic, he's older. Some would say he's ancient. And I think that's what a lot of men are afraid of, right? They're like, oh, I'm getting old. Well, maybe that's a blessing. You just don't internalize any of your experience. So that's why it feels like a curse. And of course, the mother, the hero's mother, or the kid, or the journey, the hero's journey is what we're watching here. The kid has a single mom. And of course, the vampire immediately asks, hey, may I come in? And you guys know the rule about vampires is that they have to be invited. Which I find very interesting about life is that anything that has hurt you or is a demonic spirit has to be invited in, meaning that you need to be naive in order to welcome it. So, of course, he gets invited in, and we could already see how he's controlling the whole situation and how the mother's in love with him. And he finds the kid, and he tells the kid, not a fucking word, or your mom's going to be in my room, and you're going to be dead. Okay? And the kid is there like, oh, fuck. That's what I need to be? That's what I need to be in order to be desirable? In order to be capable? In order to fight against? And by the way, you think about it. What do you guys think life is about? You're this young boy, and you look at the shadow, because that's exactly going to be a manifestation of who you're going to be when you're older. That's going to be the thing you need to fight. Do you guys want to know something interesting? That as a hero, when you're born, the villain is always first. The hero comes after. Do you guys understand that? When you see the manifestation of darkness, if your mirror image in darkness, you understand what you need to be, and that gives you an ability to be, oh, if it's this big, then what do I need to be, and what is that telling me about my potential? That I myself can be that big, just as a force for good, right? If there's the vampire hunter. Pretty cool. And so, as the movie goes on, you start to realize that this kid is not equipped against this vampire, right? But I'll tell you something that the kid has. He has belief in himself that he can take out the vampire with a little help and a little more maturity. And of course, the vampire now seduces his girlfriend, and I recommend that you guys watch the movie, because then you'll realize and understand that she responded to the vampire, not the same way she responded to him. And that's the big male insecurity, right? Where there's this other guy that's so much better than you that the woman responds to you the way that you want to. So what does this really have to do? Does it have to do with the fact that you're insecure as a guy and that you'll never be like that? Or perhaps that you are just like that and that you can have those things too? Now when he realized that about himself, he steps into the shoes of the men, and he's able to slay the vampire. And then of course, get the girl. And how does the movie end? Well, the way she was going to respond to the vampire, she responds to him. So what is this about? It's about growing up and integrating the shadow. And what do you think the vampire was a manifestation of? Integrating that shadow. So I told myself the biggest responsibility to bear is the weight of yourself and all of the expression that you have and all of your desires. Start there. Start there. So then the next thing I was walking around in the gym parking lot after that movie, and I'm fucking going like this. Because every day was that. Every day was, I couldn't stand the idea of waking up in the morning, because you know what it meant? It meant today I take care of myself. Today I do the things that are uncomfortable. Today I find all of my hidden potential by stepping in to all of the resistance that I have to it. And so, as funny enough, I actually did some internal work. I started practicing a lot of the psychology tips that I would tell people. Negative association work. And I realized, what is the negative association that I have to wealth? Can we agree that there's a lot of responsibility in wealth? What is the negative association I have to beauty? Ooh, fear, rejection, being invalidated, not getting approval. And I said, well, let me go into it, and I'll give you guys an idea of what it looked like. So I started doing this work, and it's a really great thing to do, and you guys can kind of try this. You draw a nice circle. There's things on a conscious level that want wealth, but there's things on a subconscious level that don't, because it's all the things your mom told you and all the things that you told yourself you're supposed to be. Alessandra, we'll get into it a little bit after. I'll show you this. It's in red, so it's very hard to see. That's bullshit. Should I just get a black pen? I think I dropped it. There it is. Here it goes. So this is your subconscious mind, and that is your conscious. Do you see the difference? Everybody says they want wealth, they want beauty, and they want all of these things, but they're unaware of how many times they've been hurt by wealth and how many negative associations they've created to everything that they wanted in their life. So I'm walking around in the parking lot. I started with wealth. Well, why did I start with wealth? Because that was the one thing I rejected the most in my life. Money. Who did I want to be? That guy that was cool without it. That Matthew McConaughey road tripper that could have all of the things life has to offer without materialism. Now, truth be told, I am those things, but I'll also tell you another thing. I was running away from the part of myself that was like Tony Stark. You're not just a character. You're so much more than that character. So I asked myself a question. What about wealth do I not want to have? And you guys want to hear the things. I said on a conscious level, I want it. Why? Because it would be cool. I'd have more money to spend. That was the only positive reason why I had it. And for family. You're going to need a lot of money in order to raise a big family, right? But do you guys want to know the negative associations I had to wealth? I was afraid that if I made more money, my friends wouldn't hang out with me. You guys got to be vulnerable and start to speak these things up to the surface. They will sound a little ridiculous. Do you want to know what else I was afraid of? The IRS. If I make over a certain tax bracket, then they'll take my money from me. You want to know what else I was afraid of? Becoming that guy. I was also afraid of not having time. So, those are some pretty big negative associations from it. I was also afraid of the responsibility to show up for the wealth that you generate. I was afraid of what other people would think about me and what box they would put me in. You also want to know what I was afraid of? That if I became too wealthy, a woman wouldn't love me for who I am. Guys, when you hear me say these things, do they have any credibility or do they seem like things that I haven't confronted and I just expected life to meet my needs? Do you understand that the negative associations that you create to these things are exactly what keep you where you are at? And so now the same thing kind of goes, well, what did every negative association I had? And then it's like, what's the next one I had? Around children. I didn't have a negative association to sex because who would, right? You want as much of that as possible. But do you want to know what I had a negative association to around sex? Children. What do you think that made me push away? The kind of relationship that I wanted. So what did children, why do they scare me? Responsibility scares the fuck out of men and has them running into caves. Now, gentlemen, what freed me? The responsibility it took in my life to be there for all of me, all of my desires, and meet those needs. You guys are telling me that that's not a lot of responsibility? That you need to be the one that goes ahead and gets the things that they want from their life so that you don't blame mom and dad? You know how many people are still blaming their parents? You know how weak it keeps them? So many people are blaming their boss, their teacher, their upbringing. And by the way, do you want to know something interesting? I'd secretly blame my mother for making me broke. She never taught me anything about money. Do you know what my mother said every time anything came around money? It is only for the kids in the family. You need to be thinking about what God wants from you. So every time I'd make money and spend it on myself, I'd be going against what God wants from me and I'd be burning my bridge to my family. That's what I'd feel. So I'd feel guilty every time I rewarded myself, right? What would everybody else tell me about my own desires? Oh, only under certain contexts can you experience yourself. What did I start doing? Taking responsibility of my own life. And I had this the other day happen to me. I paid a big dinner. And you know where my brain went? My brain usually goes towards my vision of my life and the responsibility I need to bear. It went towards, hey, if I go broke, it's fine. My parents can help me out. I was like, whoa, what was that? and I did the internal work, and I dove down, and I got deeper to it, and I started writing down a lot of prompts that I guys can show you how to do in order to get down to it. What made my brain go there? Guess what it was? Fear of responsibility of being an extraordinarily wealthy man. So what do we often do when we see these things manifest? We actually push them away. Guys, if I didn't do this work, I would have said no to my first lectures, my first group seminars that I had, that a friend offered me to do. If I didn't accept the responsibility of what it was going to take to show up for myself, then how the hell can I show up for others? Which then again manifested in a client, the first one that I worked with. And of course, if I wasn't there to meet my own needs, how the hell can I help other people meet theirs? So everything starts with you and your ability to take responsibility in life. So everything that we're going to be doing today is all of the things that you're afraid of, that can grow you, that you know can grow you, that you push away. And I'll start with the big three. Love. Oh, you're going to need to be a very responsible man to have love. Family. Good sex. Wealth. Physicality. Personality. Spirituality. All of those things require an immense amount of responsibility that we push away. Do you want to know how you help a young man grow? Get him to look the things in life that challenge him and say, yes, I will. Do you want to know what challenged me more than anything growing up? Beautiful women. Scared the fuck out of me. The other thing that also challenged me? Wealth. Scared the fuck out of me. But guys, do you want to know something about when I was training people versus now? I'm just as active. I'm just far more fulfilled because I'm living in my purpose. And if you ask me what my definition of a wife was back then or now, they are very different. There's something very beautiful about this, guys. What are you running from? Where is your urgent meetings? When is that trip going to happen that you're manifesting? When are you going to bump into that girl at the grocery store? You guys understand the dangers of that kind of life? Is that you're not showing up to it. You're waiting for it to come to you with an expectation. And you'll be disappointed every time it doesn't.